Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to wait about one more minute or two to let other people be able to join us, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Welcome, everyone. We really appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to join us. We're really excited to share what we've kind of done for this past year. And when it comes to redesigning the OSF, our goal is to make things easier, simplified, make sure it's easier to navigate, and just help able you guys to share all the work that you're doing. With that, we're going to go ahead and just jump right on in. My name is Mark. I am the product manager for Center for Open Science. On here, you'll see a couple of my colleagues, Daniel, who works with a lot of our community engagement, and Eric, who is the assistant director of product. So what we're going to be doing, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you do have any questions, you should see a Q&A thing at the very bottom of your screen. Just click that, ask your question, and one of my friends will be able to answer it for you. If there's something that we can potentially demonstrate or something you're curious about and I don't touch it, again, just put that in Q&A, words are hard, and we will go back to it and show you all the different things that we've had. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so you guys are getting a little sneak peek behind the scenes. We are hoping to release this, well, we're going to be releasing this later next week. If you're curious about all the different things and all the things that we've changed, we do have a blog post that we have recently released. One of my friends will go ahead and put that in the chat for you. If you have any questions, again, as you kind of review that blog post, again, go ahead and just put it in the Q&A. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So this is the new refreshed page for OSF. As you can see, there have been quite a few changes. One of the main things is navigation. Typically, we've had navigation at the very top, as well as like a little drop down, but to help simplify things and keep them consistent, we've actually moved it over here to the left. Many of these things are quite consistent, such as your home, which if you're logged in like I am, you'll see your dashboard, search, support, registries, preprints, meetings, institutions, profile, all that is the same. We did end up tweaking one little thing, and hopefully it kind of helps you guys be able to get to all your different things. We've added a My OSF. One of the feedback that we've heard from our communities is that it's really challenging to know exactly how to access your own stuff versus other people's stuff. So we tried to simplify this. What you can do is just, you'll be clicking that little down arrow and all of these things will expand. So we put my projects there, your registrations, and your preprints. So you only have to go to one place to access all your materials. Just to kind of give you going through them real quick, you'll see the My Projects page. It has been tweaked and changed a little bit. This is to, one, make sure that we can emphasize the different features and workflows that you guys typically use, but also make sure that it is faster and cleaner for you. And you can see most of these are the same thing that we currently have in OSF. So you have obviously your projects, all your submitted registrations, as well as your preprints, and of course, bookmarks. Um, Going to the next one is My Registrations. This is a feature that we've released a couple years ago, but to make sure it's more readily accessible, we went and put this in here as well. That way you can access not just your submitted, but also your drafts. So you can continue going to your project to see all your different registrations, but hopefully this makes it a little bit easier for you. And then lastly, my preprints. We had this page as well. We do have a few things that we're going to be looking at here in the next year and how we can emphasize your workflows for my preprints. So stay tuned for that. All right. Going on in, I'm going to go through these a little by little. So Search OSF. Search OSF is really it's pretty much just like how we currently have on OSF with a few obviously visual tweaks. So we still have all the different filters and facets on here on the left-hand side. So you can click on those and then you can expand, you can type, etc. So you can hopefully find all the materials that you're looking for rather easily and accessible, and make sure that they're accessible. We still have the same exact tabs, so you can go up here and do projects, you can do registrations, all that is still currently there. And one of the other things is we revamped our profiles. So the biggest thing that we've did for profiles is when anyone goes to your profile, you'll see something really similar just to that search. So we've actually embedded that search directly within the profile. And this is limited to all your materials. So that way, when you are chatting with a funder or a colleague and you want to be able to share all your materials, all you have to do is just give them your GUID. They can go to your profile and they can access all your information right then and there. Right now, I will say mine looks a little sparse just because this is going to be one of our test servers, but you can still go in like you can do on your current profile and you can add your obviously your name. You can go ahead add any social links that you might have, whether it's through Orchid, researchers.com, LinkedIn, all that, employment, as well as education. So all that is still there. A few other things that I'm going to touch on is going to be for projects. One of the questions we've had here as of late is what are projects going to look like? And projects, granted, again, it's going to be shifting a little bit, but most of that materials are still there. One thing that we did add back is the files tab. So it doesn't work exactly the way that it did before, but anyone that actually goes into your profile, they can easily access all your different files across your different components. Again, this is a test one that I am borrowing right now, but you can easily select here and it will show the entire list of components that you might have. So that way it's easier to navigate between the different things. Also, right now we only have OSF storage right here that's showing, but anytime you do a add-on, whether or not it is for like through Box, through GitHub, any of those different add-ons, those will show up as little tabs through here so that we can also select on those individual ones and they will all show here. If I did have a file here, it's easy. You will click it. It will open up into a new tab where you can access all that information. We made a couple of other small little tweaks. So one example would be linked projects. Historically, we've added that like as in one big old thing. We're going to be spacing those out between linked projects, linked registrations, etc. Components would look pretty much the same. Might have to go back in and actually find a different project to kind of show you guys, but it will end up going through being able to show like all the different kind of components right there. So that way it's nice, it's easily accessible. And of course, recent activity, we moved that further on down. We know that being transparent is key to a lot of different workflows. But we also know that people usually want to actually look at files and look at different kinds of things. So we did end up moving that further on down. So it's still there, just located a little bit differently. And of course, obviously, you can see all the metadata there on the right-hand side. So instead of it being all at the very top, our feedback that we've heard is that people want to be able to access like your wiki, your files, etc. So we did end up moving that over so that way we can really highlight things that you want to share with the community. One thing that actually is missing here, and it's probably because of how it's set up, is the wiki would also be right above the files preview. So fortunately, looks like I chose a bad example, but that would be right there as well. As for tabs, we still have all the same tabs. So metadata, we've structured it kind of like a grid so that we can easily go through here, select edit, add the information that you need, and then save it. Granted, I wasn't in a bug because I was actually not a contributor. I have weird permissions, so we're still working out some of those small little bugs, but they're itty bitty little things. Files. This project does not have a file, but this is where people will be able to access it, click it on up, or be able to find out that information. I'm actually going to open it up to my two colleagues, either Eric and Daniel. If you guys can help me find another project that ends up having a wiki or file so I can demonstrate that, I'll really appreciate it, just so that way, saving time. Since they don't have anything, then we can pass that for right now. Registrations are still there. One tweak that we did end up making is that you can easily add a registration and it will take you down that workflow. All the registrations here are the ones that are submitted and archived. If you do need to access a draft registration, it's really simple. You just go here, go to my registrations, and you can access it there. So that way, if you need to pause, come back at a later point, you can easily do that. One thing you're probably noticing is as I'm clicking through these different navigation pieces, you can see them collapse, open up, etc. Our goal is to hopefully make sure everything is consistent, always there, always present. You can always access it. Contributors, pretty much the same. I, again, and probably have weird permissions on this one, but you can easily add all those contributors. Permissions will stay the same, etc. Same thing for analytics. Add-ons, we ended up tweaking a little bit, more specifically just to make sure it's easier for everyone to be able to access all the different types of add-ons. So here we have storage. You can still type, be able to find things you want. If you click this drop down, you can see that we've typically had those on the left-hand side. We cleaned up some of the space so you can actually focus on the add-ons rather than trying to navigate. So you just click that little drop down, citation managers, link services, all that is still there and accessible. And this is showing all add-ons. Anytime that you actually have a connected add-on, just click that little tab so you can easily paginate between the two different items. I'm going to skip on link services for right now. Settings, I'm probably going to have to end up going to one of my projects in a quick second, but settings are still all there, still accessible. Actually, let me go ahead and go to one of my projects. I can just click on that real quick. Give me one quick second. So settings are still there, so you can still change like your title, your description, storage locations, view only links, so you can share with people that if your project is private, you can still share it to those individual people, request access, wiki, etc. Speaking of, since this is mine, I can also show you guys the wiki here in a second. So wiki is pretty much a place where we let you share other information that might be outside files, so it helps give context. Or you can put any other information that may be relevant to whatever your project is. All those different types of features are still here, so you can still view, edit, compare, and you can still see all the different types of versions. And hopefully, well, this ends up being a little bit more cleaner. So instead of everything being like side to side, which we know if you work on a small computer or you just work on a laptop, sometimes that real estate is really important. We actually moved the editing thing further on down, so that way you have more of that that real estate to be able to actually work and see and compare all those different things. So that is a project. Let's go ahead and go to registrations. One of the things that we've ended up doing is since we moved a lot of our registrations, preprints, etc., to my OSF, you can come down here to registries and click discover. All those pages are still there, so you can still access your different types of different registries. So I know a lot of people are interested either like in global flourishing or funding consciousness. All that you can click there and you go to the specific types of registries. Same thing for preprints. I'll show you that here in a second. But if I click on back to my registration, so registrations, we tried to minimize the empty white space and really hone in on the different types of formatting, so that way it's easy to read, easier to access. All the information is still pretty much there. Again, we just shift things around. An example of that are these different types of buttons up here. So, well, what those are different types of links for open resources. Resources can be things such as data, analytic code, materials. So if you are a researcher, for example, that's doing healthcare research, and you have to have things that are in a place that are HIPAA compliant, all you have to do is click on one of these. It will take you to the open resource page where you can add that information as long as you have a DOI. So if you have stuff that's off of OSF, totally fine. You can just go ahead and put that stuff right here, do the resource type, and it'll end up adding all that information for you. That way, if you do want to share your research, you can just take them to send them the link to your registration, and they'll have all that right there, whether it's in OSF or outside of it. just like with projects, metadata, pretty much projects and registrations, we make sure that they are formatted consistently. One of the feedback things we had is projects were structured one way, registrations were structured another way. It was really difficult to relearn everything and see how things are oriented. So we standardized that to make everything much easier for you. One of the things that we ended up doing is make sure that there's a quick little edit button. Usually there was just like a little icon. We ended up making sure these buttons are easily seen and accessible, so you can go in and change the metadata. And the reason for that is because metadata is how your research and how all your materials are found within OSF as well as other places such as Google Scholar. Metadata is key. So we want to make sure that this was easy for you. And yeah, I don't think I had any files with this one, but let's go and see and check. All right, so files are, again, really similar to how it was earlier, just again, visual change. But once you end up clicking on down, we still have the files. Here's actually a quick little example, and I can show you what a files page looks like. So as you see, the kind of consistency where metadata is on the right-hand side and the file is going to be here on the left. You'll find that consistency across project's overview page as well as preprints. But files are, all the information is still there. And instead of everything just being like right there, like on the right-hand side, we make sure that things that we're not hiding different types of features and functionality within dropdowns. Hopefully all of this makes it a little bit easier, more accessible, so you can easily click between keywords, revisions, details, etc. As well as all the different types of things that people can do with your file. So they can easily download it, they can easily share it, you can easily forward it to someone, as well as all the file metadata as well. Trying to figure out what else might be interesting and fun. One of the things that we actually did end up removing is what we called comments, just because it was a feature that wasn't really used by most of our users. So with registrations currently, if you go in current OSF, you'll see comments. All that did is archive all the comments that were at the project. If you created a registration from a project, something that was not used, so we actually removed that so we can focus on things that are actually really important for you to be able to share your work. One thing that we've also recently added, if you've not noticed from previous releases, is recent activity. So we want to make sure that anytime you ended up doing something for your registration, we have that kind of transparency. You can be able to share that with other people. That includes changing the metadata, tweaking things, etc. And then one last thing I want to highlight on registrations is we want to make sure that, again, all this stuff was clean. So anytime you have a public registration or an embargoed registration, which is essentially, it can be private for up to 4 years, we want to make sure that was readily available at the very top so it's easy for you to see. Because sometimes it was really challenging for you to figure out, is it public? Is it private? Is it, are we awaiting responses either from a moderator or from one of my contributors? All that is readily accessible right through here. And the same thing for updates. So one of the things you can do with your registrations, you can update it, you can tweak your different responses. We wanted to make sure that that was easily accessible. It's right there, it's apparent. And anytime you send this to a funder or a colleague, they can easily go between what the different changes were, because registration should be a plan, but it should also update. It should also change based on things that you did not expect. An example would be COVID. I'm pretty sure when people did their research studies and they planned for them, they didn't expect COVID to hit. So it's important to see exactly what challenges you faced and how you resolved them, so that way you can kind of tell your research story. And then if we go into preprints, again, as you can see, the UI looks consistent. We did that on purpose, so that way you know exactly where things are at, where the title is at, where the metadata is at. But we made sure that the title of it was front and center, and to make sure that it was easy to get to the file. Preprints was, you'll see it's rather consistent with what we currently have, but we want to make sure that it was really easy to see the file, interact with the file, as well as see all the different key pieces of metadata, whether or not it's an abstract, so they can gain context, supplemental materials, that way they can go to your project and get more information, etc. Trying to figure out exactly what else we can share. I'm actually going to pause there, and I'm going to open up to my friends Eric and Daniel. If there's anything with your communications and chatting with our users, if there's anything that we think might be helpful.
Um, Mark, I did put in the chat for you to pull up a project that has components. If you want to bring that up for everyone.
Oh, no,
Whoop.
wrong one. It's not copying for me. Why is it not copying for me? Eric, I'm actually going to let you share screen real quick because for some reason I'm having technical difficulties.
Okay.
Weird, and how do you do that? Now it copies.
All right. So this is a project or is a project like the ones that Mark had demonstrated for us, has the same metadata title, um, availability. What this also has is a list of child projects components that are associated with this project. They're accessible right from this overview page of the project here that's at the top level. In this case, three separate components. I can drill down into those and see, um, in this case, a separate study within um, a larger initiative. And there may be additional components, children within this that I can continue to drill down to. In this case, there are no additional children, so I'll go back to the top level here. What has also been added to this page is a preview of the files that are available, not just at this top level project, but also within those same children that we were just looking at. So if I'm reading about this project here, reading the description of this project, and I recognize there are these um, there's details about each of these individual studies. I can actually drill down and look at the files within each of those. I can open those files and investigate and download those when I open those up, all from this overview page. So I can very quickly explore what's available within this project and its children. Um, that includes storage providers that were that the user, in this case, myself and a couple of my colleagues, have connected to this project, in this case GitHub and Google Drive. um, Oops, those might have to get re-authenticated there. And that is, those are set up so that you're never sharing things that you didn't give proper permission for, so you're not overexposing your work that you didn't intend to. That's why there are those checks there. But you can have all 11 of our storage providers that we enable are accessible if you set them up on your project, and all of those files are explorable here on this files preview, as well as the dedicated files page, which allows for some additional operations as well. So that's what I wanted to quickly show there, Mark. There are some features that are retained from the existing OSF, like the institutional aggregate pages, but they take advantage of the new look and efficiency that the other pages that Mark showed us have gained. So the institutions is a partnership that universities and other research organizations make with the Center for Open Science. And what that allows us to do is to identify the members of that research community and aggregate their work. So in this case, at Brown, let me pick one that has might have some content in it here. These are all test accounts, as Mark alluded to, but in if this was on our production site, users from Arizona State University that utilize the OSF, their work will have Arizona State branding, and they will aggregate on this page so that uh, other readers that want to explore what Arizona State researchers are working on can actually use the same search filters that Mark showed us to explore that work. And then there are actually even deeper than that for um, the administrators of those institutions can even get a picture of the impact that those users are having across that community. So this is an exciting feature. It's available for institutions that partner directly with the Center for Open Science, but we've improved alongside the rest of the OSF in this transition.
Thank you, Eric. One more thing that I do want to highlight, because we don't have to take up the entire hour. We want to make sure that we had enough time to answer any questions you guys may have. But one thing that we do want to highlight is that responsiveness was key for this design. So the current OSF was designed almost specifically for desktop. It's much easier to interact with desktop because mobile, you only have so much real estate. We designed the new UI so that way, if you are either on the run or something like that, you can be able to pull up OSF directly on your phone. Everything is still readily accessible and consistent in its design. Things might change a little bit, just as like kind of reorientation, but we want to make sure that it is accessible across all devices. I mean, OSF is global, and there are certain places where people typically use phones more than they do computers, just depending on where you are geographically. So responsiveness was key. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap that on up. What we're going to do is actually open on up for any Q&A, or if you guys have any questions, put it in there or in the chat. If there's a specific page you're curious about, let us know, and we'll be happy to show you. One question that I did get is, looks like social media sharing, looks like at the bottom right of the screen has different options than within the project. That is true. We have our social media for Center for Open Science and OSF down there at the bottom right. So that way, if you want to have access to, since we are open source, if you want to go to our GitHub and see all that, you'll be able to access there. If you want to connect with us on Mastodon, you'll be able to click that social link and be able to access it there. But we want to make sure that that was at the bottom. But when it comes to the project and specifically your profile, you're able to connect that to wherever to whatever social accounts that you have. When it comes to the project itself, if you want to share to a specific social media, that one is something that we're still connecting with the community to see exactly which ones are important to you. So they are going to be different than the ones that are going to be in the footer and the profile, because we want to make sure that what we show is important to what you're trying to share with. And it's just not a whole bunch of visual clutter. So I hope I answered that question. Curious about relatively new community metadata sheets. How do those display? Eric, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Yeah, this is a great question. And I will show you right now. Let me switch this over. So this is the project metadata page, which has the default metadata that the OSF is gathering about your the projects. This is using project as an example here. So we gather key information, and we hope we don't require all of this yet, but we do enable this for you and hope you'll use it, like the resource information and funding information that you can include in your projects. But these are defaults and high level metadata that are really applicable across any research discipline. Where there is an exciting opportunity is when there's much more specific kinds of metadata for different disciplines and communities. That is not something that the OSF or any generalist repository could gather in our default metadata, because there's way too much variety. But there's a really exciting partnership that we worked last year and early this year to enable with a group called a tool and organization called Cedar, which is based out of Stanford. And what they have is two tools. One, which is a workbench to allow for communities to work together to develop their own metadata standards. So they're machine buildable, machine readable metadata standards, and then a embeddable editor where those same standards that were developed by a community can be embedded into other platforms exactly like the OSF, where researchers within those communities can utilize those same standards that the communities have developed. So in this case, I want to add a specific human cognitive neuroscience metadata to my OSF project. So I will select that, and each of these templates will provide instruction for what's expected of those templates, and then have a set of required and optional fields, which, as you can tell very quickly, is much more nuanced than what the OSF by default is going to gather. It's not more important, but it is much more specific to this community, the human cognitive community. So I'm just going to fill in a couple of these here so that I can save it. And you can see the entire standard is all available, all readable. I'm going to save this draft here, and you can see for my own project, I haven't published this yet because I haven't finished filling in everything, but it's available right alongside the default metadata. And I can come back and finish this filling in my standard here. I'm missing a required field in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. I think that might be the only one. And I can publish this now. And then for anyone who's reading my project, my public project, they're going to have two metadata standards available to me, the OSF default metadata and that human cognitive specific metadata. Each of these are downloadable. So as a machine can come through and download all of this project material, including the OSF metadata and the specific human cognitive neuroscience metadata. I can add additional standards to this as well if several more are also relevant. We have 5 currently of these templates available in the production server, and there are at least 7 or 8 more that will come this year, and we expect many more in the future. So this is a really neat feature, and is coming completely alongside the new work on, or the new interface for the OSF. So that's a great question.
Speaking of, we had a follow-up, which is, do you know if the contents are indexed in search?
The currently the metadata that you fill in specifically in these fields for the Cedar templates is not indexed in search yet. All of the metadata that you fill in on the default OSF metadata is indexed. Most of them are specifically facetable, filterable. Makes it much easier to find your work when you include the resource information and the funding information, for example. Because of the massive amount of different metadata fields that are included in each of these additional standards, and then collectively across all those standards, those are not something that we have as facetable yet. But we do have on our roadmap to have the content that is filled in here be searchable. You can, in search, identify when a resource has used one of those uh, standards. Right here includes the community schema. So if I'm only interested in the projects that have included that additional specific community metadata, then I can filter down and see that one that I had just published. So I can't search for the specific terms used in those yet, but I can see which ones have filled in and published that additional standard with their OSF project. These schemas are available on OSF projects, on registrations, as well as on individual files. And that same filter is available on all of those search pages.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. So one of the things that I see here on the left-hand side, if is the meetings. So we still have an archive of all the meetings that we've hosted historically, but we have a question of why that service is no longer available.
Yeah, I can speak to that a bit. So there's really two things. One is that the use of this service has declined over the years, to the point where we might see a couple dozen over the year, and the quality of the material that is in, not so much the meetings themselves, which can be very exciting, conferences and other events, but because of the nature of the way this work is submitted, which is via email. That was the kind of initial value proposition of this service, is that this OSF meeting is set up, and then you're gonna see pet pictures here. This is maybe not the most professional example, but um, the way this work was submitted is this user was given an email address, and they attached a file and sent it to this address, and that's it. So it's super easy for them. What the big disadvantage of that is that there is almost no metadata included on this information at all. And that is really not the direction we want to be heading. We want a really well described material on the OSF, and the more that material is connected across the research life cycle, like those badges that Mark told us about. That is really what we want to be enabling. So enabling almost zero description type materials is not in line with where we want to be heading with the platform. So OSF meetings is not aligned with that desire. So we're moving away from this providing that service. However, everything that has been submitted for prior meetings is all going to remain available and public and accessible. We're not going to remove any of that, but no longer going to support that particular service.
Awesome. Thank you. And I actually would love to go to a pet party. That sounds like fun. All right, I think that was all the questions that we've had. So what we're trying to do is doing research is hard enough. The platform you use should not be should not be hard to use. So we're trying to make sure that we are focusing on simplicity, ease of use, accessibility, so that way we can share the different types of work you guys are doing and be able to share with different communities and really streamline scientific progress and rigor. So with that, what we need to do is we're always looking to ways to engage in the community. We built this based on feedback from our community, from our users. And so I went ahead and put my email directly in chat. When this releases, if you have any questions, or if there's even before release, if you have a question about a specific page or about a specific workflow, please email me. I'll be happy to chat. I'll be happy to kind of walk you through it. And then after release, again, like we said, our community is our bread and butter. If there's anything that you find that either looks weird, or if you have an idea on how we can actually make things easy for you, send us an email at support@osf.io. We're always willing to help and to be able to reach on out. And that way we can learn and build things that just naturally fit within your workflows. But also we want to make sure that we build features that are helpful and useful. And so we want to make sure that we're constantly being engaged. So with that, I don't think we have any other questions. Just thank you for everyone for your time. We hope you're as excited as we are. And yeah, this will be coming out later on next week. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. One thing that Eric did just put into the chat, just because I don't want to close this one out too early, is if you want to learn more about Cedar, that metadata that Eric was sharing, he had put that link in the chat. You can just click there and be able to open on up. But yeah, thank you everyone. We appreciate it.